World War I is known as the First World War, one of two, and inevitably three. It has several other names: the Great War, the War to End All Wars, but I will refer to it as World War I. The First World War lasted 4 years, 1914 to 1918, and in that period there were many new inventions and tactics created. It was truly a revolutionary war. World War I started when Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated in Sarajevo. Austro-Hungary blamed Serbia for the incident because this assassin was a Serbian nationalist. Around a month later, war was declared. The main combatants in the war were the German Empire, the British Empire, the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, France, the Kingdom of Serbia, and many, many more. Another notable one is America, who joined in the last year. In the early parts of the war, Germany was on a roll. I'm talking about the Western Front, by the way. They invaded France and Belgium, but when the French repelled them, it turned into a stalemate. France and Belgium dug in and made trenches. Germany followed suit. It was a serious stalemate. There were trench charges and advances, but none of them got very far. It was in this period that the first of 4 battles in Ypres happened. Also in this time on the Eastern Front, Germany invades the Russian Empire and everyone in between. This led to the Battle of Tannenberg. I said there were things invented for the war, and there definitely were. It was one of the first wars to use machine guns, such as the American BAR, Browning automatic rifle, the French Hotchkiss, the British Maxim gun, and many more. The war was also one of the first to use bolt-action rifles. Bolt-action was a revolutionary system where you loaded a clip into a rifle, then you pulled back on a bolt to load it, then you could shoot once. Then you would have to pull the bolt back and push it forward again. Repeat until the magazine is empty. Later in the war, a new weapon-car hybrid was put into combat, the tank. Tanks were first used in combat in 1915 when British Mark I was used. Tanks back then were huge and slow but terrifying. Over the course of the war, several tanks were used, and the main ones being the British Mark I through 5 and Mark A Whippet, the French Renault FT, and in the last year of the war, the German A7V. The tanks were the first of their kind and quite deadly, but never fought each other. There was only one instance of a tank fight. Tank fights would mostly happen in World War II. While tanks were on the ground, the air was where a huge invention was made. World War I was the first war to use flying vehicles. The planes were used by all sides. There was a British Sopwith Camel and Gotha GV, the German Fokker models, and Lohner models, among many, many more. Unlike tanks, there were many plane fights over the course of the war. One of the most deadly weapons in the war was not always shot out of a gun. It was gas. Gas is used by both sides to clear trenches and take out enemies quickly. Gas commonly used was mustard, lacrimatory, and chlorine gas, used by both sides. It was first used in Ypres against French troops. It choked, blinded, and killed troops of both sides. Gas was used throughout the war, and all around the European front. As I said before, the Western Front had mostly trench warfare, and it was terrible. The trenches made by the British were more like holes in the ground than anything else. While the Brits were getting bogged down in mud and water, Germans were smart and dug their trenches knowing they would be in them for a while. German trenches usually had electricity and sometimes even running water. The trenches started out with only 1 or 2 connected trenches, but by the end of the war, there were several lines of complex trenches. The First World War ended November 11th. After 4 years and 37 million deaths, the First World War was over. World War I was the most bloody and destructive war, and it's truly sad that it was surpassed in both areas 20 years after by World War II. That's my video about World War I. Okay, I'm tired, goodbye.